the previous world order is irreversibly becoming a thing of the past. One could say has become a thing of the past.
The president of the Russian Federation just a few hours ago today came out and made a truthful statement. He said the monopolar world order that was set up after World War II, where the United States was the dominant force in the world, is over. And that the globalists that have been running America have basically driven the rest of the world away from us. So the very same globalists that have hijacked America with the private Federal Reserve in 1913 and the expansion of the deep state in 1947 with the National Security Act of the CIA, up into what we see today with Homeland Security and Mayorkas directly at war with our very sovereignty and existence, now attempting to start World War III with the Russians, is a manifestation of the globalists that have been not just enslaving us and using our money and treasure and energy to dominate the world, but also hurting American power and destroying our name on the planet. And at a certain point, the planet is turning against that. Now, as America had its power used and sapped to build this big BlackRock private central bank New World Order, the globalists openly said at the Trilateral Commission and CFR that down the road, they just blame us and have America collapse and blame all the evil on America. But instead, world leaders around the world and our people here at home and many members of Congress and President Trump understand that the country has been hijacked and that we are in a process of taking it back, and that it's not in general the U.S. government, but the globalists that hijacked it that are to blame. And they were hoping to then, as they destroyed America, building their world government, would blame America and then pose as the saviors with their new central bank digital currency, global government, cashless society system. And that the whole world, during the economic collapse that they've been engineering, would look at them as the saviors and would turn all control over our lives to them in the name of saving the earth from global warming. We would accept carbon lockdowns and national ID cards and travel restrictions and forced injections and UN pandemic treaties that could put people in camps if they criticized lockdowns. They thought they could get away with building the system, sucking America dry, selling our jobs out overseas, having the United States dominate the planet, and when they were done, get rid of us and move on as the saviors. That's not happening now, and populists all over the world are getting elected and saying no to the globalists, and they're rightfully getting the blame for orchestrating most of the problems that we see in our world today. So when Putin talks about and uses a music analogy of having a lot of different notes and a lot of different things going on in the music, other than just one monotone, he's talking about the music of lots of powerful nations and blocs that then operate in their own sphere, but also interface with the other spheres, and that brings diversity to the world, just like diversity in business or culture, or, as you use the analogy, music. And that's absolutely true. And the globalists want to pick and choose what nations win, what corporations win. They engage in economic warfare against the people of the West while parlaying our power into international operations to increase theirs. And that is where the Russians and the American people and the people of Canada, Australia, Europe, all have a common enemy in the BlackRock-controlled private central banks. And the same private central banks and private families that own BlackRock are the same ones that set up the private Federal Reserve here in 1913. And now you have the head of the Federal Reserve, shockingly today, though it's actually true what he said, he didn't care about the president. President has no power. President can't fire him, and the courts can't fire him.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Not permitted under the law.
Thank you.
And they try to act like Congress can't, but Congress can. Congress created the private run for profit Federal Reserve. Congress in the Constitution has the power of the purse. So it's one thing to get rid of the Democrats. It's one thing to have the trifecta in Congress right now. But we also need to get rid of the private Federal Reserve. It needs to be nationalized. The private owners of it need to have their shares stripped. Talk about a monopoly. It needs to be transferred back to the people of America. So this huge Federal Reserve announcement we'll play in a moment dovetails with what Putin is talking about. And it's the private Federal Reserve through the U.S. with monetary policy and sanctions that's been waging war against Russia as well. And you know they're the ones that call the shots through the federal government with our private dictators, the Federal Reserve, to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, doubling the prices of energy in Europe, and then blaming Putin for it. So there is a quickening right now as not just other nations stand up to the globalist, but the American people and the people of the West do as well. Now Xi Jinping, certainly no cupcake, certainly not a good guy, came out and said, listen, I'm willing to work with Trump right now. We need to stop these wars right now because Xi Jinping understands with the globalists, they won't even communicate with him in an honest way. Putin said that too. Putin and Xi Jinping respect Trump because when he talks to them, he's straight up and tells them what he stands for, and then they usually capitulate to a lot of it because it's so refreshing to actually know that the person they're talking to is in charge and will actually do what he says. So this is an incredible time to be alive. Again, the old New World Order, the globalist merger of the British Empire after World War II with the United States is coming to an end. And there is a new order in the world that's certainly not a bed of roses and certainly isn't perfect, but it shows the weakening influence and control of the globalists that were the dominant force and are the death cult and are the transhumanists and are at war with the people of the West and at war with Christianity and at war with classical open capitalism. They are monopoly capitalists or more akin to fascist who use social control and a form of cultural communism to control the grassroots, but they themselves are above it and are kingpins who are fabulously rich. And as the world wakes up to this and the people wake up to this and we have real debates about the privately owned Federal Reserve, we are so close to being able to abolish it. It's almost passed Congress before when Ron Paul was in Congress, and now we are so close. This is an idea whose time has come, and as Ron Paul used to always love to say, it's happening. And now he's working with Elon Musk and President Trump. The word is he'll be coming in as an advisor in Elon Musk efficiency commission. This is exciting. This is a revolution against tyranny. The globalists want you poor, controlled, so they can dictate the terms of your surrender. That's what the WEF Great Reset is. That is the policy of making you poor so that you will eat the bugs and you'll like it, and controlling where you can go and what you can do. They're building a prison planet, and if we just identify that and say no and reject it, they'll never get away with it. But you've got to admit it's happening. You've got to learn who the players are. And when I started out 30 years ago, most people knew none of this information. Now, this information is exploding. It is the most popular information. It is the hottest information, and it's based on reality. So the domesticated sleeping giant that is humanity is waking up out of their trance and then discovering the real world around you. You don't have to even listen to me. You're not getting my worldview. It's not some weird political twisted perspective that's meant to distract you. I'm pointing out how the real world works, and if you'll simply go investigate it, you'll find out I'm telling you the truth. And then you'll start doing your own research, and you'll understand the New World Order, death cult, depopulation, transhumanist cult are really, really evil and really selfish and twisted and on amazing power trips and extremely arrogant. But their arrogance is draining away really fast. So have we won? No. But Trump's reelection is a major historic victory. It's bigger than a beachhead, and we're going to win the war when people realize globalism and the New World Order means enslavement and depopulation and death and austerity. And the other way is the new Renaissance and a pro-human future where we work towards open transparency and freedom and individual human enlightenment and empowerment, where we promote leaders in industry and in academia and in government and in culture that are pro-team humanity.